I never expected moving into Oakwood Estates would turn into a full-blown chess match with the most entitled neighbor I've ever encountered. On the surface, the neighborhood looked ideal. Neatly trimmed lawns, a well-kept community pool, and what seemed like a fairly reasonable HOA fee. What the realtor failed to mention, however, was that the Homeowners Association was ruled with an iron clipboard by Karen Wilkins. Karen was in her mid-50s, wore her highlighted blonde hair in that unmistakable "Can I speak to your manager" cut, and proudly donned a neon yellow vest with HOA president stitched across the front like it was a badge of honor. My troubles began just 3 weeks after I moved in. I had planted a small patch of native wildflowers in my front yard. Not only were they beautiful, but they were drought-resistant and great for attracting butterflies and pollinators. I had done my homework and double-checked the HOA bylaws. These flowers were 100% allowed under Section 4.3. I was confident I'd made a smart and eco-friendly choice. Apparently, Karen disagreed. At 7:30 a.m. on a Saturday, there she was on my doorstep, clipboard in hand, that bright yellow vest glowing in the morning light, and a tight-lipped smile that didn't even pretend to be friendly. "Those weeds need to be removed immediately," she said, without even a hello. "They're not weeds," I replied calmly, still half awake. "They're native wildflowers, approved under Section 4.3 of the landscaping bylaws. Good for water conservation and the local ecosystem." Her smile twitched. For a second, I thought I saw a crack in the facade. "Well, they look like weeds to me," she snapped. "And as HOA president, I have final say on what's acceptable. Remove them by Monday or face a $100 per day fine." Before I could even respond, she handed me a violation notice and strutted away, her spotless white sneakers practically stomping down the sidewalk. I didn't remove the flowers. Instead, I took clear photos of the garden, attached highlighted sections of the HOA bylaws, and emailed the entire board, Karen included. I explained the situation politely but firmly. No one responded. But the fine? It never showed up. Round one, me. But Karen wasn't backing down that easily. Over the next 2 months, I became a constant target. I got violation notices for things that border on ridiculous. My trash can be invisible for too long. After garbage day, it wasn't. My garage door being open while I worked on my car, which is perfectly allowed. And even the color of my garden hose. That's right, the color. There is no bylaw about hose colors, by the way. Each time, I responded with a respectful email and the exact bylaw that proved I wasn't in violation. Each time, Karen's frustration grew. One evening, as I was checking my mailbox, she appeared from nowhere like a villain in a made-for-TV drama. "You think you're so clever," she muttered, arms folded. "Just because you can quote the rules doesn't mean you belong here. Some of us have standards." I smiled, keeping my tone neutral. "I appreciate your commitment to the neighborhood, Karen. Have a nice evening." But it was obvious now. Her issue wasn't with my compliance. It was with me. Someone who knew the rules just as well, maybe even better, than she did. Someone she couldn't control. As a remote software developer, I rely on getting packages and important mail at home. After a while, I noticed some deliveries were missing. At first, I assumed it was the usual postal delays. Then my neighbor Jeff casually dropped a bomb. "Hey, I saw Karen near your mailbox the other day," he said, while leaning on our shared fence. She had what looked like a mail forwarding form, was acting all sneaky about it, too. "Wait, what?" The next morning, I called the local post office. They pulled up my file. Sure enough, someone had submitted a mail forwarding request in my name. The moment I saw the address, my stomach dropped. The mail forwarding request had been submitted in my name, but the destination address wasn't mine. It was Karen Wilkins. A quick property record search confirmed it. She had rerouted all my mail directly to her house. "This is a federal offense," the postal worker told me gravely. "Mail fraud and theft are serious crimes. Would you like to file a formal complaint?" I paused for a second, but just one. I thought about everything Karen had put me through, the endless harassment, the fake violations, the package that never showed up, which, by the way, contained an expensive graphics card I needed for work, and the missing credit card statement that caused a late fee. "Yes," I said firmly. I absolutely would. The postal inspector took my complaint seriously. I handed over emails, the forwarding notice, even Jeff's statement. They told me mail fraud carries a penalty of up to 5 years in federal prison and a fine of up to $250,000. I doubted Karen would get the max sentence, but the fact that she was under federal investigation was satisfying enough. 2 days later, while working from home, I heard something unusual, raised voices outside. Peeking through the blinds, I saw 2 postal inspectors and a police officer at Karen's front door. I couldn't hear the conversation, but I didn't need to. Karen's face said it all. Confusion gave way to indignation, then to something she rarely allowed anyone to see: fear. She pointed across the street at my house, flailing her arms in defense before vanishing inside with the officials. Later that evening, an email went out from Michael, the HOA's vice president and, thankfully, a reasonable guy. An emergency board meeting had been called. All residents were urged to attend. That night, I sat in the back of the Oakwood Estates Community Center as Michael stood before the crowd. It has come to the board's attention that our HOA president has been involved in activities that do not reflect the values of our community. He began carefully, choosing his words with the precision of someone navigating a minefield. Karen Wilkins has been temporarily removed from her position, pending an investigation into alleged mail tampering. As many of you know, this is a federal offense. A wave of murmurs swept through the room. Karen didn't show up, but her husband did. He sat silently in the corner, staring down at the floor like he wished he could disappear into it. Michael continued, "The board would like to apologize to the affected resident and assure the community that we are cooperating fully with authorities. We will also be reviewing all recent violation notices issued by Ms. Wilkins to ensure they were in accordance with the bylaws." After the meeting, neighbors who had barely spoken to me before suddenly approached with nods, handshakes, and stories. Turns out, I wasn't the only one Karen had bullied over the years. She had made a habit of using her title to settle petty scores, fabricating rules, pushing personal grudges, and intimidating anyone who dared stand up to her. 3 weeks later, I received a certified letter from the district attorney's office. Karen had been officially charged with mail fraud, a felony. She was sentenced to 3 years of probation, a $5,000 fine, and, perhaps most satisfying of all, was permanently removed from the HOA board. The letter also confirmed that multiple pieces of my mail had been recovered from her home, including the missing graphics card and several personal letters. The next day, I ran into Karen at the local grocery store. She didn't look like the Karen I remembered. Her shoulders were hunched, her eyes dull and anxious. When she spotted me in the cereal aisle, she froze. After a moment, she spoke. "You've ruined my life," she said bitterly. "I lost my job at the real estate office. You have any idea what a criminal record does to a real estate license?" I calmly placed a box of cereal into my cart before turning to her. "I didn't ruin your life, Karen. You committed a federal crime. There are consequences for that, just like there should be consequences for having wildflowers in your yard. The difference is one of those things is actually illegal." Her face flushed deep red. But for once, Karen had no comeback, no rules to twist, no title to hide behind. She just stood there, silent, stunned, and finally aware of what she'd lost. Without another word, she turned and abandoned her shopping cart, walking straight out of the store. And just like that, Oakwood Estate's most feared resident faded into the background, stripped of her power and haunted by the very rules she once weaponized.